My name's Gordy, and I am a very grateful recovering alcoholic. This program saved my life, and I can't give it any more straightforward than that. It saved my life, and I'm very grateful. You're doing the best that you can possibly can to carry the message of hope. Our primary purpose, that's to stay sober, help another alcoholic find sobriety, and I certainly got that in these rooms. So many people have come out of the woodwork to give me a helping hand, and for that I am extremely grateful. Now I'll tell a little bit of a story about my life. I was taken to the Adelaide airport and put on an old DC-3. I flew up to Whyalla and I joined an old ship called the Iron Monarch. It was a BHP vessel, and it was a tramp-style steamer. I eventually overcome my seasickness and fell into the work and the style of what sailors do, and we arrived in Newcastle, and after we were tied up and gangway was down and whatever work we had to finish, I noticed all these sailors going down the gangway dressed in suits and done up to the nines, and I said to them, "Where are you going?" And they said, "We're going up the pub, you want to come?" And I said, "I've got nothing else to do, so I'll come up with you." Well, the next thing I know, I'm in this waterfront pub, and there's women dancing everywhere, and the smell of the booze, and the jukeboxes were playing Elvis Presley and Roy Orbison, and I was over the moon. It was euphoria, and I was knocking down these pints. Well, I never drank like that in my life. The only booze that I had to drink was what my father used to give me, the bottom half of his glass or something or other. But here I am drinking like a fish, and it took its toll. And the next thing I'm in a blackout and I can't remember nothing till I woke up in the back of a car with a guy sitting alongside me and a guy in the front driving. And this guy's got his hand in my pocket, so I don't know what he was after, but I hope he was just after money, because I had none. And I resented what he was doing, and I tried to push him away, and the next thing he was punching the daylights out of me. And you must remember, I'm only a 14-year-old kid, very wet behind the ears, and I threw up. And it went all over him, it went all over me, and all over these old bench seats that we're sitting on. And we were slipping and sliding and all over the place. He couldn't get rid of me quick enough. And my wife, she still says to this day, that could have saved your life. And he leant across me, opened the door, and he started kicking me out the door. And I went out through the door. While the car was going along, it wasn't stopped, and I remember hitting the road, and it was very painful and sore. It's lucky he didn't run over my legs, but they drove off, and I was able to pick myself up and dust myself off. There was a lot of abrasions and scratches and stuff on the gravel and the metal, and I seen the taillights of their car going down the road, and I was in amongst mangroves and really dark looking area, and I thought, what am I going to do? And I can remember looking up ahead, and I could see all these big floodlights, and I thought, that's got to be the wharf area, that's the docks, it has to be the docks. And I headed towards those lights, and I was right, it was the docks, and my ship was down there as well. And I remember when I got on board, the sailors that were on night duty were in the mess room, and I went in the mess, and I tried to get a bit of sympathy, but they weren't in on it. They wouldn't give me nothing, and they just said, "You want to live this sort of life, sonny? Toughen up, get yourself together." And from then on, that's what I tried to do, and that was the beginning of my drinking life. And I drank from then, the age of 14 to 29, and that's when things really got out of hand. You could, through those years, the jails and lockups and the violence and boys' jail at 16, some of the worst lockups in Sydney, Darlinghurst lockup, which is recognised as the worst in Australia, and I was in there 3 times, and I was also in adult jails as well. That's what my alcoholism did to me, because I had no control. Once I picked up a drink, I was gone for all money, and it took me years till I was in this program, in this fellowship, and I was able to listen and get an idea of what my issue was, what my problem was. And it was because I'm an alcoholic. I'm a full-blown alcoholic, and that didn't happen till I was 9 months sober, and that's when the acceptance comes. But anyhow, there was a lot of trouble and strife through those years. It wasn't a long time. It was a period of about 15 years, and but it was long enough for me because I crammed so much in those years, and it was very painful. And the worst part of those years was what I'd done to my family, how I hurt my father, and how I embarrassed my mother. And also the embarrassment that I caused my wife. And my kids were very young when I got sober, so they didn't see much at all, so I'm very glad that they didn't really see the nastiness of it all. But I've become a different person when I drank, that typical Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I become Mr. Hyde, and I couldn't do a damn thing about it because I didn't understand it. And I wrecked my teens, and I trashed my 20s, and I nearly destroyed my whole life. But how I got to Alcoholics Anonymous was I was locked up in the Port Adelaide cells one night, and while I was in there, I had glimpses of what I did when on this drinking spree, and I was very unhappy with myself, and I was brought to my knees, and I had no idea of a God in my life, or no beliefs, or no religions, or no nothing. And here I was crying out. I was reaching out for something that I didn't know, I had no clues about, and I was asking for help. And basically it went this way, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you are, please help me. I can't go through this anymore. I've had enough. And about 5 weeks later, after I got out of the lockup, about 5 weeks after, I was walking through the streets of Port Adelaide, and a guy yelled out to me, and he was standing out the front of the old Archway rehab, and I walked across and I stood around with him. We just talked for a couple of hours, and this guy and I, we drank a lot together, and we got into a lot of strife. He finished up in a lot of jail, and he camped out Skid Row, Alki. The only reason I wasn't on Skid Row is because my wife saved my bacon that many times, and we just talked, and he said he was about 10 months sober, and he was in the rehab, and he was trying to get his life in some sort of order. He was sick and tired of living the way that he was, and I didn't relate to it right there and then. That come a bit further down the track, but it must have went into my subconscious, and we just kept chatting, and we struck up a friendship again, and he started coming down to my house, and we'd sit around, and I'd be drinking. I'd be sitting by the fridge door where I could open the fridge and put my arm in and grab a bottle of long neck out, and I'd be swigging it in front of him, and he'd be telling me about Alcoholics Anonymous and recovery. And I'm so glad that he did, that something was going in upstairs, and I just kept on listening to this guy and drinking away. And he kept coming down, and it was a period of about 6 months from August 1976 to Easter time 1977. It was this time of the year, and he kept on coming down, and we'd just sit around the table like that, and talking and chatting and all that stuff about, mostly about recovery and AA meetings and all this sort of stuff. And I'm glad that I was receptive, and I listened to this guy. And Easter time 1977 wasn't a good time for me, because a guy down the road was cleaning out his garage, and he had a lot of old bottles of wine that he'd had for a long time. There was approximately 2 dozen in this box, and he said to me, fancy asking me, do you want these old bottles of wine? And I said, yeah, I'll take them off you. And that Easter, Thursday before Easter in 1977, I started to get into these bottles, and I can't remember much from that Thursday till the following Monday, only bits. And I woke up in the lock-up again on the Saturday night after I had a punch-up. I had 2 punch-ups in the local hotel where I used to drink, and I got barred, and I tried to keep that hotel clean. You know, I got barred out of a lot of hotels, but I didn't want to get barred out of that hotel, because the public in there used to put me on the book, and I had always had money forthcoming, and I could get a drink, but this time was enough, and he put me out the door. And I was very angry, and I was accosting people and whatever. I can't remember much about it, but I got locked up, and I don't remember getting out of there, but I know I was seeking a drink, and I was in glimpses of sobriety, just moments of clarity, walking through the streets of Port Adelaide looking for a drink, and I must have got a drink here and there. But the next thing that I remember, because that was all blackouts and stuff, but I woke up on the Monday morning, Easter Monday morning 1977, in my bed, absolutely burnt out, in a mess. Wife wouldn't talk to me. People were steering clear, way clear of me. They were just kept well away, because I wasn't a very nice person when I drank. And I was staring at the ceiling, and I wanted my wife to respond to me, and she kept going out the door. And I thought, what can I do here? And a light bulb moment come into my head. And I believe today it was a God job, but this brilliant idea came into my head. Maybe if I tell her that I'm going to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, that might change her way of things. She might start to respond to me. And I said that. Well, she just disappeared. She didn't come back. She didn't come anywhere near me. And what I found out afterwards was that she went and rang the rehab up and got in touch with the guy that I met on the streets of Port Adelaide, and he came down, and he spent the next week sitting on, well, not the next week, it was about 4 days, 3 to 4 days, sitting on my bed and talking about recovery and about meetings, and every day he'd ask me would I go to a meeting with him, and I fobbed him off. But in no way I wanted to go to these meetings, but for my relationship to continue, I had to go. And I said, I'll go to that meeting that you go to on a Sunday night, which was Archway Sunday. And I thought I could get out of it. I got a few days, I can work my way out of this, but I couldn't. My wife kept asking me, you going to that meeting with so-and-so Sunday night? And I said, Oh yeah, not too much behind it all. But Sunday night come and they're all waiting, they're all looking at me, and so I had to go. And I went to the meeting on the Sunday, and I didn't want to go in, but God had other ideas, and there was a fella playing around with his car at the front door of the meeting, and he had the bonnet up, and he was trying to do something. I don't know what it was, but I reckon this was another God job. And I was thinking before I got there that I'll find a moment where I'll just disappear. And but that didn't happen, because we're playing around with the car, and we're trying to figure out what's wrong with it. And we got really engrossed in our little conversation, and all of a sudden a woman who I know as Judy, she come to the front door and she said, "The meeting's starting, come in." And so the guy that was his car, he just pulled the bonnet down, slammed it down, and the three of us walked straight through the front door and into this meeting. And once I got in there, this fella that brought me in and other people were saying, "This guy here's a newcomer, welcome Gordy," and all this sort of thing. And next minute people descended on me and surrounded me, started asking me questions and "How you going, mate?" and all this sort of stuff. And my mind they started embracing all that sort of stuff, and they were saying good things, and I needed something like that to keep me hanging in there. And then the meeting started and we all sat down, and I heard a lot of things that kind of gave me a few answers. It rang a few bells, and I'm so glad that I did. I sat in that meeting, and I'm so grateful that those people that were at that meeting that night made a big fuss of me and encouraged me to keep coming back. And that's how my life in Alcoholics Anonymous began. I'm one of a few that can say that I haven't had a drink since that week before Easter, Easter Monday. I'm trying to get it right. Easter, sometime early hours on the Monday morning, Easter 1977, and I'm so glad of that, because if I bypassed this program, if I had done what my track format usually suggests, I would have abused it, and I would have give them all a bird, and I would have went back out the door and drank. But it didn't happen. I heard enough that night. The unconditional love of you members of Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. It was that spiritual magnetism that drew me back and continued to draw me back, and I've been here ever since. And the best thing is that wonderful welcome that I got, and the love. And it took a while before I really settled. It was 9 months before I spoke in Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's another story. But the main thing was that I kept coming back, and that's the basics of what this program's all about. If we don't pick up the first drink, and we keep coming back, and we give it a chance for the miracle to happen. And the miracle happened for me down the track a little bit. But I kept coming, and how I got up to speak, it was an anniversary at the Woodville Town Hall, and we're all sitting down this night, and I thought, there's no way that anyone's going to call me here, there's too many people. Well, the lady that was in the chair, her name was Judy. She was a very, very good friend of mine for 18.5 years. And this night she was in the chair, and it was her husband that was in the chair. That's right, it was her husband that was in the chair. and he eyeballed me after the meeting had been going for a little bit. He eyeballed me and he said, Gordy, you've been coming to these meetings for quite a while now, and no one's ever heard you identify as an alcoholic, or if you aren't an alcoholic, but would you please come out the front, and all you have to do is identify one way or the other, and then you can sit down again. If you do feel like you've got something to share, well, just share it with us. And that's what happened. And the next minute I could see myself as if it was a out-of-body experience, walking down the aisle, walking towards the chairman's table, and then turning around and standing in front of all you people and saying, my name's Gordy and I'm an alcoholic. And that was a huge, huge, huge barrier for me to crumble. But it was one of the best things that I ever did. And I finally said and accepted. I admitted the fact that I was an alcoholic. I accepted the fact, and I laid it bare in front of all you people. My name's Gordy, and I am an alcoholic. And that's how it all really began to get going. Got the ball going. And I just kept on coming back. And I fell in step with you people. I wanted what you have, and I wanted that miracle to happen, as Ruthie says in her shares. I wanted it to happen, and the only way that I sensed that it could happen is that I just kept on coming back, and I did. And from then on, I did as many meetings as I possibly could, and I love to encourage people. You know, we come in here, we're all washed up, we're sick and tired and had enough, and our life feels wasted, and we don't know where the next turn's going to take us. And once we wake up and realise that we do have a purpose, there's a real reason out there for us. You know, our lives aren't wasted, and my life certainly isn't wasted. I just love carrying the message of hope to the newcomer, the young people. I feel I have ways and a means that I can encourage them to not keep on going down the path that we went down, and that we can get off at any station. We don't have to go all the way to the terminus and destroy our lives. And old Jock from Whitecliff used to say that, you know, don't pick up the first drink and keep coming back. And I'm very happy and grateful that I haven't picked up a drink, not once, since I've been in this program. This fellowship has saved my life. I've met so many wise and wonderful people that have continually steered me down the right track. You know, when there's times where I feel grumpy and miserable, and what's that saying, irritable, restless, discontent, all that sort of stuff, depressed, down in the dumps, in the shit and miseries, and the drink comes into your head, and thank God that I haven't resorted to picking it up, because it would have destroyed everything that I've achieved in sobriety. I've got a wonderful family. My wife and I have been married 56 years in August, and we got married on the day that Elvis Presley died on. August the 17th in America, August the 16th in Australia, and we were Elvis Presley nuts, and I'll never forget that. So my life is meaningful today. There is a purpose, there is a reason, and I go to lots of meetings. I don't just sit around when the pain gets too heavy for me. I get up and I go to meetings. And when Digger Dave came into the fellowship, Digger Dave and I, Dave got his licence back. Him and I, we went to countless meetings. We'd have meetings before the meetings, and a meeting at the meeting, and a meeting on the way home from the meeting. We'd have meetings everywhere. They're coming out of every orifice in our bodies. That's how much we loved it. And we were doing 7, 8, 9 meetings a week. And Darwin Paul was in the mix as well, and it just, in my later life, it just settled me down, and I had some very big issues going on, and it was troubling me. And I prayed a lot, and I got with them older members of the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, and there's a whole heap of them in this room, and I've met a few. I met Jeff, who's from, I'll get it right, Monterey Bay, and I went and spent a few days with Jeff over there, and we did meetings in his neck of the woods. And we had a grand old time. You're never lost in this fellowship. There's always someone, somewhere, that you've met, and you meet them again, and you have amazing times. Jenny come over here last year for my 44th birthday, and we went out to dinner, a whole heap of us, and we had a beautiful time. And Jennifer said that she's coming back this year. We'll all get together and have a nice meal and enjoy ourselves. There's life after booze. And there was life after booze for me. I never thought it would happen. I never thought there would be anything to replace the booze in my life. But I've had a ball. I've had an absolute ball since I've been in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've had my down days, but I've had so many good days. And I know that I'll keep coming back. This is where it's at for a recovering alkie, here in these rooms. It'll save your life. Just apply yourself. Give it your best shot. Tommy T said that to me many years ago when I was trying to work out, when he was saying, we surrendered to win, and I thought, I can't understand that, mate. Can you explain it to me in more easy to understand language? Surrender to win? I've never surrendered to win for anything. And he said, well, just think of it like the boxer. When the boxer's in the ring and he's starting to lose a fight, he throws in the towel. But the alkie, when the alkie throws in the towel, he wins the fight. And I thought that was an excellent analogy, and I've used Tommy's explanation of a surrender to win for many years now, and he was right. He was so right. When we do surrender, we do win. There's victory in the surrender, and it's just a matter of keeping on coming back. Eventually there comes a time when the compulsion leaves us. And I never thought the compulsion would ever leave me. But I was over Port Adelaide one day at lunchtime, sitting with this guy that brought me into AA. We were sitting there, I don't know whether we were having a coffee, having a bit of lunch or whatever it was, but this is a long time ago. I was around about 18 months to 2 years sobriety. And we're just chatting, and I can remember I said to him, you know what, mate, I'm not thinking of booze very often these days. And he said, you want to know why? And I said, why? And he said, because the compulsion has left you. Eventually it will leave you, and it's left you. And I thought about it, and I said to myself, and I said to him as well, it has left me, because I hardly think about it these days. And it will happen for you guys, you young guys in sobriety. Eventually that will happen, and you'll get on with your lives, and you'll do the things that you want to do. You'll go back to school like I did. You'll get jobs that you never thought that you could ever handle in your life. And I did exactly that. I went back to school and studied for my master's certificates to be able to operate tugs. Got my first tug skipper's certificate for South Australia. And then I got my second one. That was the end of 1978, that was. And then I got my next tug driver certificate in 1982 that allowed me to work on tugs anywhere in the world. And I'm so grateful that I was given that chance. And that's because Alcoholics Anonymous opened the door for me. And it was through this program, 12 Steps in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, that changed my life and changed my life drastically. It gave me a belief. It not only gave me a belief about believing in myself, but it gave me a belief in a God as I choose to understand him, not in a religious manner. And I know people like to have guidelines and religion and all that sort of stuff, but I just got this fundamental belief inside of me that there is a God, and I'm certainly not it. So yes, I hope you got something out of what I've been saying here today. I'm not big on speaking as a guest speaker. I just try my best and just have a simple little timeline of how I found myself in Alcoholics Anonymous, what it was like, what happened, and how it is now. And this program has, made a big difference. And that's just about enough out of me, Mish. I will start to call it quits now, but I'm just so grateful to be a part of this wonderful program, and I'll keep coming back. Don't pick up that first drink no matter what. And Rorke Stick used to say, if we stay away from meetings, we'll pick up pots. There's no exception to the rule, just a degree of time. And that's all it is, a degree of time. Preserve your sobriety with every fibre that your body has got, because it's very hard to get it back again.